So I want to welcome everybody. I want to thank you so much for coming. I am super excited that I get to share this program with all of you. This is super important. I think every family, every parent can benefit from this. Before we get started with the presentation, I was drinking coffee this morning, and I was just thinking, how am I going to introduce this? How am I going to open this? How can I, And it's weird because I was drinking my coffee, and then all of a sudden this phrase kept popping up in my head, and it's a phrase that always, for some reason, I always think about. I don't want to say daily, but every so often, monthly. And I remember it was from a coworker, and the way she ended our conversations every single time I spoke to her, she would always say, "Claudia, it's all about relationships." And that really, really stood out to me because I was like, oh, it's all about relationships. Okay. At first, I didn't understand it. At first, I was like, okay, yeah, of course, yes. It kind of made sense. I wasn't completely sure what it was, so I just kept going. And then as the years went by, I started noticing some relationships and just noticing how important they were. And noticing how there's relationships, in your home, at your work, at your church, at your school, in your community. And I was like, wow, it is all about relationships. Relationships are so important. And we rely, I believe that our survival depends on it. So when I think about it, it's always like, this is perfect. It's perfect for this presentation. And it's all about relationships, not only in general, positive or negative, right? So you can love where you work because of the people. You can hate where you work because of the people. That can be the same in your homes, in your schools, even in your churches. Because the people you build connections with the people that you interact. Okay? So here, the purpose of this program is to build a connection. And who better than building a connection with the most important person in your life, which is your child. As you can see, I'm very passionate about it. It's something that's really big for me. It's something that I want to share with everybody and in the world. So that's why we developed the I Can Connect. I think families really struggle with connections, and I want to help families. And this is why we did this. Sound good? Perfect. So my name is Claudia Meza, and the co-founder of Secret Parent Society. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. So I want to kind of give you a little bit of a background as to why I came into this field, as to what kind of the bug, how the bug just bit me and I just became passionate. And it's been my life for a very long time, and this is what I dedicate myself to. I had my little battles with school, changing my degrees, going back and forth, not knowing what I wanted to do. But I took a course by accident, and it was called Autism 101. What I learned in that class is that I was watching videos, and it was of this woman. It was a young woman. I think it was in her early 20s. She was mute, she was deaf, and she was blind. And it brought back memories in elementary school when I was they were reading the book, Helen Keller. I don't know if you guys read Helen Keller. I was fascinated by Helen Keller when I was in elementary school. So I was like, oh, it just kind of brought me back to that. So this woman, she had autism on top of all of her other disabilities. And she was in an institution that looked like a hospital with just caregivers. And so what really struck me is that when people would walk in, she would just hit herself aggressively. And I would just watch it. And every single time that and it's through a video, but every single time she hit herself, I would flinch. Because that's how hard she would hit herself. She had sores, there were bruises, and she kept traumatizing the sores that she was already having. So there was a lot of blood, and there was risk of losing her eye socket. So I sat there and thought, wow, how did they help this woman? What are they going to do? How do you help somebody like that? And what I learned is there was a behavior analyst on site, and they analyzed her behavior. And what they determined was, oh, this behavior serves a purpose, because all behavior serves a purpose. Your behavior serves a purpose. Mine does too. And what they found is that her purpose of behavior was attention. That's the way she got attention. So she attempted to get attention, right, by whining, or doing some noises. I think she was mute. She couldn't speak, but she was making some noises. I think she was clicking her teeth or something. Nobody gave her attention. She would try to grab and swing. Nobody gave her attention. She was attempting to communicate, and nobody was able to hear her. So the way she was heard is by being physically aggressive towards herself. So you'd say, okay, what happened, Claudia? So what happened to this woman? And so what happened is very simple. We determined the function, we know the purpose, so guess what they did? They developed a little card that just said, I want attention. Can you spend 10 minutes with me? So when a caregiver came by, all she had to do was just show the card. And she got all the attention. And the behavior analyst was very specific. You need to do two things, and two things that are very important. When she shows you that card, I want you to give her the same exact amount of attention that she got before. Okay? You need to sit there, talk with her, be enthusiastic, because of the reaction that was prior. She got a lot of attention based on just, taking care of her wounds and being nurturing. So they were doing the exact same thing when she showed the card. When she did self-injure, they ignored. They did not give it attention. They would walk quietly to her and just block, and then walk away. But whenever she would fill out the card, they would go give her attention. So in my mind, I was like, wow. So then 2 months later, they showed the after video, and her wounds were healed. And I was like, wow, I need to learn this. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to do this with people that are struggling and understand behavior and be able to make this kind of a change. And that's when I decided to pursue applied behavior analysis. That's where my background comes from. So ever since then, just so you guys know a little bit, I've been working with children as young as, I think my youngest is 18 months, but I've also worked all the way to adults, 50-year-olds, with different diagnoses, no diagnoses, challenging behaviors, you name it. So I've learned a lot when dealing with behaviors. So this is our mission. Our mission is to inspire every parent to learn and understand their child's behavior while gaining the confidence to respond in a purposeful manner, but creative manner that fosters independence, preserves dignity, and cultivates a lifelong meaningful connection. Empower yourself. That way you can empower your child. And the thing that we're gonna conquer today, right, is gonna be our negative self-talk. Our perceptions play a big role on how we respond to our children. The way we speak to ourselves in our minds really impact the way we're gonna respond. And sometimes we take our thoughts as a matter of fact. Like they're a belief, they're a fact, right? And so we act upon it. There's also a lot of parent guilt that goes along with this that we're gonna address. Emotional reactions, we let our emotions take over and dictate how we're gonna respond. And also we develop some toxic cycles with our children. And then as you can see, it's repetitive. You'll start seeing the same behavior over and over again. So we're gonna address all of these things, okay? Does this resonate with any of you? Kind of, a little bit? Yes? Perfect. Some of the benefits is you're gonna get a whole new perspective on your child's behavior. I will say today, when you walk out of this room, you're gonna be like, wow, I had no idea. Or, oh my gosh, you're gonna start looking at your child's behavior in a whole different way. You're never gonna see it the same ever again. We also talk about family values. It's really important to understand your values, and so we're going to review that portion of it. We're going to create a plan. So we all have tools, right? We've got the timeout tool. We've got the count to 3, 1, 2, 3. We have a bunch. But what I love about this is that we can use your tools in a functional manner. There's a lot of things that you guys already know, but now you're going to do it purposefully after this information. And then obviously, the biggest thing is foster a connection. That is the ultimate goal that we have. So as you can see, these are babies. They're so cute, They can do anything. Young kids can do anything. They can get away with anything, right? And we still give them a kiss on the forehead and tell them it's okay. It's all right. No worries, right? She's so cute. But it's funny because people will laugh, and when they get the same reaction, it brings the giggles out, and parents and adults and everybody, they become like little kids, and everybody's really happy. It's just amazing, even though they might have done something wrong. We don't take it personal, do we? No, not at all. Okay? But something happens. Where do we go from being patient to not taking it personal, to where we have interactions where we actually sit there and try to understand our child, to where all of a sudden we end up like this when they're teenagers? It's hard, huh? It's tough. It's a tough fact, right? And it happens a lot, and I think a lot of it is because of our perceptions. As when they're babies, it's easy to perceive and not taking it personal. It's easy because they're babies. When they're younger, we don't look at it in a very personal manner. We just take it as, oh, well, they need to learn. We need to teach them, and we need to guide them. But at some point, as they get older, we have different expectations. All of a sudden, they learn to speak. They learn to walk. They learn to do things. They should know it all. And we forget to teach and guide, and we react emotionally. All of a sudden, they're doing it because it's personal, and we respond accordingly. So this is what happens. If you were to see it in a scientific graph, our impatient reactions are really low in the beginning. As our child slowly gets older, our impatient reactions increase. So how do we develop a connection when we have impatient reactions like that? Does that foster a relationship with your child, who is the most important person in your life? So what happened here? You might be thinking, well, what am I doing? Parents are always asking. Parents are always guessing. They're doing the best they can with what they have. And it's all well-intentioned, every single bit of it. So with this in mind, I kind of just developed a philosophy, not a philosophy, a method, just kind of an explanation as to what I think is important, what we would need to connect with our children. And there's polar opposites, right? So there's the I can't connect polar pyramids. So as you can see in the very bottom, we have clear family values. Well, we're really going to hit that one today. But you also want to be grounded, focused on long results. Sometimes we'll always focus on those short-term results. So as an example, the long-term results are just like you're doing things because you know it's going to better them in the future. Our short-term results are, when we yell to make them stop right then and there, right? But that behavior keeps repeating. It'll still happen 20 minutes later. But because he stopped in that moment, you think it works. But it's still happening 20 minutes later. Also, emotional maturity. There's an emotional maturity that you need to be able to not take things personal and be able to respond in a more planful manner. And we'll kind of review that a little bit. Independent, right? I don't know how many times I'll talk to parents and they get really nervous, or, oh, they're watching me, especially when they're young and they're screaming in the stores And it's like, everybody's watching me. Oh no, everybody freaks out. Let's get out, like that kind of stuff. Or we get advice, right? We get advice from our parents, from our in-laws, from our doctors, from books. There's endless of advice, right? And you can never do it right, ever. We're going to help you become independent thinkers, independent problem solvers. You're going to make decisions because you observe something, you analyze it, and you're able to create a plan. And you can see whether or not it works. Because it's visible. You can see it. Okay? And ultimately, connection. As you can tell, the other pyramid is the complete opposite. So if we have unclear family values, which is our foundation, if we're not clear on that, you're going to be disoriented. You're not going to know what's guiding you. You're not going to know exactly where you stand. You also tend to be focused more on the short term. What stops the behavior right now in this moment? Emotional immaturity. There are times when us parents, sometimes you can't tell who's the child and who's the adult. Yeah. And we're reliant, right? So we ask our parents, we ask everybody in sight for help. Because we don't feel secure enough. We're not confident in our own decisions, so we have to go and find information elsewhere, outside of ourselves. Okay? Ultimately, it'll lead to disconnection. Because we just don't fully understand everything. So we're going to try to work a little bit from the bottom up to try to conquer this whole thing in this short little time that we have. Okay? So what I want you to think about is this pyramid. I want you to really look at the very bottom. This really puts a lot of focus on the parent. You guys are the adults. This is your job right here to help with your child, right? This is going to be your part, which we're going to work on today. Okay? The rest of the part is really child focused. We'll go through it, but it's actually like looking at your child's behavior, observing it, taking notes, and trying to find patterns. And so we'll walk through that a little bit today. We won't go through it all because it's just a lot of information. And then ultimately, what we want is a connection. That's where we want to be. That's how it's split up the pyramid. That way you guys can kind of see. So we're going to start our pyramid, right, with a strong foundation. And so our family, we use values. It's amazing how many times I'll talk to parents. I'm like, do you know what your values are? And some of them are just like, values? What do you mean? And I'm just like, okay, we got a lot of work here. So it's important. Values are really important. It sets the foundation. The important thing to understand about values is to think of it as the North Star. Okay? So if you're in the woods and you need to head north, you're going to look at the North Star, right? And you're going to head in that direction because it's the right direction. Now, are you ever going to actually get able to physically hold that North Star? No. But it can guide you, right? All your actions can head in that right direction. So your values are your guide for your family, for yourself, for your kids. Does that make sense? And I'll give you some examples in a little bit. So you're not gonna, these are things that you do not attain, it's something that you don't complete. It's something that you work towards, okay? Do you guys know what your family values are? No.
To have fun.
Have fun. I like that one. That's a good one. We need to, right? I like that one. So I'm going to give you some examples. Something for you to take away. So we kind of look at it, once you identify your goal, your values, right? Your values. So I recommend that you guys go home. You guys are going to be able to do things already just today. Work with your family. I Identify what your values are, okay? I sat with my family, we talked about faith, kindness, respect, love, and health, okay? So on this bullseye, kindness, we're very kind. We're pretty much on target. Respect, we're there, we're getting there, okay? Our faith, we want to improve, but we're trying to head toward that direction. Love, we don't always show love the way we should, but that's where we're at. And then our health is like way off the charts. Like we're not even like close to being healthy. But that's the bullseye activity, is to determine what your family values are and discuss it with your family. And you guys can review it with the bullseye, every week. It's something that you guys need to review. That way, it's something that everybody can be on the same page and see where they're at. So that's just a really neat activity. If you want, humor me or do this. I want you guys to come up with family values to where you are. For each value, so like let's say kindness, that was really close to the bullseye. For each of your values, so let's think about it for the past week. That way it's kind of close. Let's think about the past week. Where are you with your values? And sometimes it's okay because there might be times like faith, right? Like I go to church every Sunday, and it's like, oh, I couldn't go this past Sunday, so I'm a bullseye this week is a little off, I might feel a little, so I don't want you to be hard on yourself or anything like that. This is not something like if you don't hit the bullseye, like, oh, wow, you're a bad person. No, that's not what it is. It's just to give you perspective onto where you're at, and just identifying them. All right, are we good? Yeah? Anybody brave enough to share that wants to? No worries.
I can share.
Yes? Okay, great.
Okay, so mine, love is like on bullseye because I feel like I give enough love to my family and children.
Okay, good.
Not strangers, but fun is a little bit not close. It's kind of far.
Okay.
Communication is like off the chart. Health is not even close to the chart.
Okay, perfect. Great. Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and this, like I said, this exercise is not, it's just to kind of get to see where you're at. It's really nice to do it with your kids, because then you can kind of see how they rate themselves and see where they're at. It's good. It's also good if you wanted to, just suggestion, if you got if you got your own values, and have your kids do their own values, and do like a theme, like where you guys would do categories and see where they all lie on, see where they all fit in. That way they get buy-in. That way they have a voice and they're like, oh, there's my value right there under trust. Under trust, oh yeah, my parents follow through whatever they say. Oh, it's right there. And they can see it, and then they feel heard when they're a part of it. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so you guys can, I always see these canvases out. So I go to Home Goods, Marshalls, Ross, and I see these canvases like family rules and, kindness and all of these things, right? So I was thinking, why can't we make our own canvas? Let's do our own family values. That's us. Don't let the world dictate what we're going to do, what our values are. We can do it ourselves. So this is just kind of a little example where you guys can develop, create your own canvas. There's so many online things that you can do, and you guys can be creative and make it look really nice in your home, and then it's present. It's there as a reminder throughout the day. You walk in and you see it. It's kind of subliminal in your household. Also, what I want you guys to think about is goals, right? Goals. So goals are achievable. Goals are things that you can achieve. So values, you cannot achieve because it's a guide. You're always going towards them, right? They're what's going to guide you through life. Okay, goals are things that you can achieve. So really think about what are your short-term goals of your family from 1 to 2 years. And then what are your grow graduating from karate class, moving to the next belt, or it could be I want my son to go from a D to a B at the end of the semester. Those can be short-term. Long-term goals, I want him to be able to be independent, have college degree, get a job, be independent, pretty much. So think about that. Think about some goal that you guys might have for your family from short-term to long-term. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, we focused the bottom of the pyramid. So that's kind of it's an ongoing thing. It's just always in the back burner. It's always like in the back, in like white noise, where it's always just like in the back, just kind of simmering in the background. You always want to have that there. So grounded. So we're going to talk a little bit about self-talk, and I want you to explore your thoughts and your feelings during. Let's go with a challenging situation. What I really want you to focus on, and I'll kind of discuss mine, I'll give you an example before you jump in. What I want you to really think about is not only how emotionally you reacted, but how was your body? How did your body react to the situation? Did you get tense? Did all of a sudden you have fists in your hand? Did your breath change? Did all of a sudden did your voice elevate? What happened to your body? I'll give you an example. I'm trying to think of last week, if anything happened to me last. I always think about a difficult situation. I always go a week back because it's very fresh. Sometimes when you try to go back too much, it might not be too fresh. But I'm going to be honest. So it's not related to my son, but I had some feedback that I didn't like. And I immediately, my heart just sunk. And I was just like, are you telling me I don't do a good job? Did I just not do a good job? And then all of a sudden I get into this very negative space. What happened? What's wrong? I'm not good enough. I can't do this. All these negative self-talk starts to come up, okay? And then I start self-doubting myself, okay? And then so I just sit here and think of these things. And so what happens is I get really upset. And so then I will push back, and because of what's happening. And so I confronted that individual, and I was really hurt. And I probably responded in a way that I shouldn't have, just overreacted a little bit. But that's kind of like what we're going to do now. So my body really tensed up. I was very nervous. I was disappointed, and things of that sort. That's a bad example because it doesn't involve my child. That's the only one I can think of for this past week. So if you can think of a difficult situation, ideally with one of your son or your daughter or whoever you have, and if it was 2 weeks ago, that's fine. Just think about it and explore how you felt and what were your thoughts. Okay? Another example, I'm just going to try and think of another example now that it's coming to me. My son doesn't make his bed in the morning, and it irks me. Right? I'm just so when I walk, so he knows to make his bed in the morning, and so I'll walk past his room, and I'm just like, oh, and I just get this really knot in my stomach, and I'm like, not again, how many times do I have to tell him? So that's what I feel, right? And then I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't he listen to me? Why does he do this? How many times he doesn't care, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, why, he should be listening to me because I am his mom. I've told him how many times he needs to learn, right? All these things happen, right? So that's what you're going to do. You're going to talk about a difficult situation and explore your thoughts and your feelings during that time. Anybody want to share?
I'll share one.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
It's with my son who's 6 years old, and it's challenging every day to do homework.
Okay. Perfect.
And,
yes.
I get home from work, the wife's, having dinner ready, and she's just got home from work as well. and it's homework time, so I don't even go home and shower. I don't take a shower. I just, all right, come on, buddy, let's do homework. He's watching TV, he's playing with his Pokemon cards, and all right, come on, go get your backpack, and still playing with his cards and watching TV. Come on, buddy, let's get your backpack. Gets his backpack, gets halfway into the kitchen table, and backpack's still on the ground or in the bedroom. And then finally get him, hey, come on, buddy. It's already the third time. Come on, 1, 2, do the 3. And he finally grabs his backpack, and then he goes back, grabs his Pokemon cards, or he's zoned out by the TV again. And then come on. And now you start to get restless. You're breathing heavy, tensing up, starting to get a little loud. Mm-hmm. And again, hey, come on, get your stuff. You gotta take a shower. You gotta eat. We gotta, so this way you can take a break and watch TV. Come on, let's hurry up. And he continues to not follow directions. So then, become upset. Now you're yelling, and you're instructing him. Come on, why don't you follow directions? How come you listen to your teacher? He does real well. You get a positive report from his teacher, mm-hmm. and you're trying to understand, well, where am I losing authority here?
Okay.
For him to follow my directions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start questioning him. Hey, what is it? Do I need to speak to your teacher? To find out what she's doing in order for you to follow my directions. I'm asking you very nicely, multiple times. Your mother as well is asking you multiple times. Why don't you follow directions? They don't understand either.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's good.
what do you do?
I know, right? It's quite a good question.
And it's a daily. It becomes repetitive.
Okay, perfect. So that's good. So I'm glad you're here. First, we're going to analyze thoughts. So it sounds like one of the biggest thoughts you had was, am I losing authority? Which was a big trigger for you to kind of respond accordingly. So that's kind of like where your reaction came from, right? And then it sounds like you're even saying to yourself, like, I have to yell in order for them to listen. I have to, it has to get to that point where I yell because then they'll listen. So it's almost like that, like okay, then that's what I have to do.
That's going to be the quick or the short term.
Yes, look at that. Look, you're learning. Good job. Yes. So good. So just explore that for right now. We're going to move, we're going to build. So that's good. That's really good that you identified that. Really quick, if we can identify a positive situation and describe your body and the exact same thing during a positive situation. Would it be like, let's say on Monday he did make his bed. That was really positive. And what did I think of myself? What did I think? I'm like, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. I wish he would do this. I wish he would do this every day. Why doesn't he do this every single day? Why? He can do it, but he doesn't do it. Why? He just doesn't want to do it, right? So that's what I started thinking. Because he did do it on Monday. I was, so if you guys, that can be a situation. Maybe it is going to be a day where he does do homework without, the delay or something like that. How does your body react and things like that? Yes?
In reference to the kids in the bedroom,
Yes.
Kids need routines.
Okay.
And if the routines are peaceful, they can follow, is give them independence.
Mm-hmm.
So if you create some kind of visual system when the child can record their achievements, or put a mark, or put a sticker, or put a star, whatever, and you can keep track of the good things and the days they need to improve, it's more becoming like a habit. Takes time to get there, but eventually it will become like the normal thing to do. So that foments the independence.
Yeah.
So seeing a mom happy just to put a chart, and the child is getting early, and they're so excited to do the bed and leave everything because they want to put all the marks in those boxes, and they are so excited.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So you're already going strategy mode. She's already like, So you're already, and you've already, it sounds like you have some experience. Which is great. Which I think you'll find some things here. I think you'll find things useful here too. But yes, so we're jumping to strategy mode, but we'll talk about strategies in just a second. But I think that's perfect. Okay. Anybody else want to share a positive situation? What I do want to point out when we're looking at positive situations, right? Not always, but a lot. What I've learned that's very common is that even during positive situations, there's always a but. Yes, he did it, but he doesn't always do it. There's always a negative aspect, even in a positive situation, which I find it very. It's amazing to me how it's always when bad things happen or not good things, like when bad things happen, parents they're there to be like, yeah, I can't handle it. I can't do it. They're very, very hard on themselves. When it comes to giving themselves credit, it's always somebody else. There's always another explanation as to why something good happened or why they were successful. So just want you to keep that in mind. It's just something that I've observed during working with families, and it's just something that kind of keep it there a little bit. Okay? Now, so how do your thoughts and feelings influence your reactions to your child? And you kind of already jumped ahead with that. So you said, that your thoughts of like, I'm losing authority. The only way that I can get him to listen is if I yell, right? Because of that self, like that's what your strong belief is, right? That in that moment, that's what you believe. That's going to dictate that action. That's how you're going to respond. So what I want you to think about is how does that influence? How do your thoughts and feelings influence your behavior, and how you respond to your child? Anything to expand on it? Nope. Okay.
Breathe deep.
deep breath. Yeah. So we also want to create an alert system, right? We want to be aware when this happens. So if you can just kind of create this alert system, that way you're aware of what your body's going through and what you're thinking in that moment. It's really important because it'll help you pause for a second and then before you even respond, right? Which we'll get into the planning phase. But I just want this is where the emotional maturity kind of comes into play. So we really want to work hard on our thought process before we start working on our child's behavior. Okay? Now, there's different examples for an alert system. Some people like to wear jewelry and they'll look at it and they'll hold it and it kind of like makes them pause. Some people will have mantras. They'll say something to themselves, like they'll say, be patient, be kind, or it's something. They'll say something to themselves, Some people pray. Somebody might sing a song. They might count. Counting to 10 might help. They might take breaths. They might just walk away. There's different forms of things. So find something that works for you. Some sort of alert system. It's really important that when we do this negative self-talk, so let's talk about this for a second. And I'm not trying to pick on you, but it's a very good example. That's why I like it a lot, because I think a lot of parents can resonate with it. Yeah. Yep. So the two thoughts that kind of came out of yours was, I'm losing authority, right? And he'll only listen when I yell. I have to get to this yelling place, right?
Or 1, 2, 3.
Or 1, 2, 3. Now, is that really true? Is it an absolute fact? Right? Is there evidence to support what you're saying? to believe that. And you're saying yes because it happens frequently. Okay? But is there an alternative explanation for it? Could there be another reason besides you losing authority? Could there be another reason besides counting 1, 2, I have to count 1, 2, 3 before he starts listening? And what are those alternative explanations? What other reasons could there be?
I don't know.
Okay? So let me ask you this. Are there times where he does listen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, are there times where you don't have to say 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Okay, so there are times where he does listen really well. So we know that that's possible. So it's not an absolute fact that he's doing it with the 1, 2, 3, and that you're losing authority. Are you losing authority? That's what the process is. You kind of just, you second guess. So when you have the alert system and you're like, so if I'm telling myself, he doesn't even listen to me, or again, alert, I'm going to touch my little necklace, and then I'm going to say, hold on, is this really true? Wait, he listened to me 4 days of the week, right? Oh, I see, yes, we woke up really late this morning. Oh, I woke up really late this morning. I only had 10 minutes and I rushed him out the door. Right? It happens all the time. And you're just like, but it just takes a moment to just pause and really look at the situation and figure it out. Oh yeah, he did it like every day except Monday. Oh yeah, I woke up late. Hey mom, you woke up late. Yes, that's true. Okay? So it's good to just pause and ask these questions. So spoiler alert, just to let you guys know, everybody, it's not personal. It's not about you. Your child are not engaging in behaviors to get at you because they hate you. There's a purpose behind it. There's a purpose behind their behavior, and our job is to figure that out and use that to our advantage in the sense that we can teach them so many things when we know that. Okay?